As my friend Sam Vitali would say,
hello.
Exactly. Now, before you get mad, don't worry, I won't put any more spoilers into this video about Game of Thrones, so you are good to go. First of all, I know this video is very long. I've put timestamps into the description so you can just skip between the different sections you're interested in and don't need to watch the whole video. Also, I have already made 2 videos about Fire Nova Mine. They are a bit outdated, so I decided to make a complete new guide for Fire Nova Mine. So just ignore the old videos and watch this one, and you should be an expert in Fire Nova Mines and be super awesomely prepared for the new league. I need you to download something. There's a tool called Path of Building. Maybe you already have it, maybe you don't. Now, for the ones who don't have it already, you don't need to worry. It is not a virus. It is a very well-known tool in the Path of Exile community. I actually just discovered it myself, which is a shame. But yeah, better now than never, right? Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, how do you get it? I put a link into the description that leads you to this page, a GitHub link. You download the newest exe file. It might be another version when you're watching this video. So yeah, download the newest exe file, then install it. Then you search for this new symbol on your desktop. You double click it. You wait. You wait longer. And it starts. Now for me it's not a blank page because there's some random build that just opened up. But for you it will be a blank page. I need you to import my build now. How do you do that? There is a button in the top left that says import export build. You click it. You click import from paste bin. And now it wants you to put in a link. That link is also in the description. It is a paste bin link. You copy it. You paste it. You import it. You wait until it says code is valid. That's good. You import it. That wouldn't come for you. It just comes for me. This will open. Yeah, and this is my build. If you don't know that tool, it not only lets you set up your skill tree, it also calculates damage for every single little change you do, which is amazing. The damage, the health, and stuff like that. It also lets you set up skill gems. It also lets you set up items. And yeah, calculates everything for you. It is amazing. I love it. Hey, welcome back. Let's talk about the pros and cons of Fire Nova Mine. First, we get to the pros. Fire Nova Mine is a dirty cheap build. It is a budget build and therefore the perfect league starter. You only have to invest in 2 items early on. That is the Dirtress Damning Power Ring that costs you 2 chaos, and a perfectly rolled Covenant chest shouldn't cost you more than 5 chaos. One thing you want at some point is the Helmet enchantment. Now, you know how it is with helmet enchantments. They can be quite expensive, but since not really many people are playing Fire Nova Mines, you could get it cheaper than you think. So don't worry too much about that. Also very good about Fire Nova Mines is the clear speed. I don't need to explain very much. You saw how efficient Fire Nova Mines is, how fast it clears the maps. You have to take into consideration that bosses got pimped, got buffed like crazy. They have so much HP now. I think they have 5 times as many health points as they had before. It is crazy. You still melt them down. Now, to be honest, in the beginning with a 4 link, a bad weapon and no helmet enchantment, even I skipped some bosses, it is hard. But once you get a 5 link and a decent weapon, you can melt them down as you did in 2.6. Also, many builds got gimped and that makes Fire Nova Mines move up into tier 1 list of builds in my opinion. Like all the triple dipping, double dipping, ignite and poison builds got fucked this league. So yeah, Fire Nova Mines is still as fast as it was before. Also very important is the build is really fun. You have to get used to it, but once you are used to it, you will have a lot of fun. I can guarantee you that. You will see that for yourself. It feels a bit clunky in the beginning, but yeah, once you have the 4 Ascendancy points of Saboteur and the key points which you get really early in the tree, the Fire Nova Mines feel amazing. Also important is that you can run all map mods with this build. There are a few map mods that are a bit annoying, and that would be Chilled Ground, which you neglect by using the boots I suggested you. Mute, Wind, Whisper, something, I forgot. Temporal Chains I personally hate it with every build, so I also hate it with this build. Although you don't rely on cast speed or attack speed, it's still annoying to move around that slowly. And Hexproof. Now Hexproof is one of the bigger issues. I still run Hexproof because I just don't want to re-roll my maps. It's way too expensive. I don't want to waste my worthy chaos, so yeah, I run every mod. But Hexproof, our main defense is the double defensive curse setup. And yeah, Hexproof kinda destroys it. So you have to be careful. You can't charge directly in the middle of a pack when they are hexproof. You have to go around them, plant the mines, and you still will be fine. And yeah, for me, one of the most important points is that you can get rich early in a league. The combination of clear speed, all map mods, and really budget build makes it the perfect first league char to farm up for your second char, whatever build this might be. So that's what I do. I use Fire Nova Mines to get early, really rich in a league, and then be able to farm up for other chars. The best thing you can probably do is grinding the maps, getting up in the map tiers as fast as possible, and then selling. Just selling the maps alone will grant you a lot of monies. Okay, that's it for the pros. I want to be honest to you guys, as every single build out there, also Fire Nova Mines has its weak spots, and that's what we are talking about right now. So first of all, the mana costs, aka life costs for us, since we are using the Covenant chest, are immense. In beta, I am using a 6-link Covenant chest, which is actually a 7-link because of the added Chaos gem that is included in the Covenant chest. And I spent 203 life in order to lay down one cluster of mines. And especially in the beginning, when you don't have a high health pool and therefore a high health regen, you kind of need to do something against that. What you do is you use Wild Clarity. Mana costs are always a problem, even while leveling. So what I do when I level a new char in a new league, and that is a Fire Nova miner, I use my Wild Orbs on Clarities. And it's pretty easy to get a Wild Clarity that way early. And it helps a lot. Just a little tip. So yeah, in the beginning you use Wild Clarity, and later on you get close to out-regen the mana costs. But only close, not completely. Also, the build can feel very clunky in the beginning. As I said, you have to get used to the mines mechanics if you haven't played any mine builds before. It's a bit more challenging than just pressing one button. You have to press 2 buttons, but once you get used to it, it's way more fun and way more exciting than just the typical builds. I don't want to speak bad about a certain build now, but any totem build, oh my god, they are boring as fuck if you ask me. So yeah, you will get used to it pretty fast and you will be fine. Also, you need to be around level 60-ish that's the point where the build really starts to feel smooth, because you have the 4 Ascendancy points you need from the Saboteur tree, and you have the main passive key points you need for this build. And yeah, then the build feels really, really awesome. Connected to the mana costs are the disadvantage of not being able to do Shaper or Yuba Atziri. As long as you can't completely out-regen the mana costs, you won't be able to do those bosses. The problem is you rely on your life flasks, and they are not really rechargeable while these boss fights. So you will run out of life flasks, and then you have to go out of the map and go back in, and that's just shitty. So find a way to completely out-regen the mana costs, and you should be good to go, because the damage itself is not the problem. Then another thing is the mediocre defense. Don't get me wrong, the defenses are not shitty at all. I managed to get to level 95 with this build in 2.5 in HC, and I died because of a stupid mistake, which kind of provocated it. So yeah, kind of provoked it. And yeah, so we rely on the double defensive curse setup, which is Temporal Chains and Enfeeble, and also on Fortify, and a 5.5 to 6k life pool and a 1.5 to 2k energy shield pool. That's very end game. So before you reach, and then you are pretty fine. You can just roll through all the maps when you have those. But as long as you're at, let's say, like 4k life and you don't kill as fast, it can be pretty hard. So I want to prepare you for that you might die 1 or 2 times while leveling up to level 90ish, yeah, if you don't watch out. So that can happen. And the last thing is the visibility. I have to mention that the ground effect is quite impressive. It looks cool, but it also makes it really hard to see stuff like flame bearers, or let's say an exile that uses flame blast. Okay guys, we have to talk about solo self-found and hardcore solo self-found. I personally wouldn't go solo self-found with this build for one big reason, and that is the helmet enchantment. It is a pain to farm your helmet enchantment, your desired one, and unless you have a dedicated lab runner in solo self-found, you probably won't get your helmet enchantment. And the helmet enchantment for Fire Nova Mines is super important. It kind of doubles your damage, since the last 2 waves you deal more damage than the waves before. Way more damage than the waves before. So you get 2 additional waves that the Fire Nova Mine does when it explodes. And those will be missing, and that's a huge part of your damage. At some point you just want to have this helmet enchantment. So yeah, that's the biggest issue. The other issue would be, and that's not as bad, that you will have to run this build on mana until you have your Covenant chest. The Covenant chest drops not super often, but quite often, and you also, you would change your item filter settings so that you see Spider Silk ropes and just throw chance orbs on them, and you should get your Covenant chest quite fast. What you have to do when you run this build on mana, I did it to level 95, it's not a problem. You go for Eldritch Battery so that your energy shield goes to the mana side and becomes extra mana. You also go for Zealot's Oath so that your life regen becomes mana regen, aka energy shield regen. Okay, so that's about it. I wouldn't play this build on solo self-found. Okay, hardcore. This build is totally playable on hardcore. I did it twice to level 95 and 92. But there's one thing. I played the beta and I died quite often, I must say. It was pretty much solo self-found since there were not many people trading, and I played with really bad items. But still, I died quite often. I feel the game got a bit harder. I feel like mobs deal more damage. Bosses got insanely buffed in health. That's a fact. I'm not sure if the damage got buffed, but it feels like it. Mobs deal way more damage. Maybe it's just because all the Act 5 mobs were included into maps, and some of them are pretty mean. So yeah, what I would do is, in hardcore, I would neglect crit. And that sounds shitty, I know, but it isn't that bad. It won't drag you down in damage too much. Why? Because you will go for Elemental Overload then. So what you do is, I have 2 hardcore endgame trees included, and whatever you prefer, they are both equally good, I guess, but whatever you prefer, you can go for it. So first of all, this is the one I would go. So you see I skilled in Elemental Overload, all the crit nodes are gone. Don't forget to switch these 3 to these 3 for some extra elemental damage. Also the power charges are gone. But now we have more life than before. We have 207 life. This is pretty insane for a Shadow build. Shadow is the shittiest class to get life, I think, on the skill tree. So 207 for Shadow is pretty awesome. Then this looks awkward, I know, but it's a lot of life regen what you get here. So overall it's 0.5, 0.8, 1.8. Let me calculate it, it's kind of important. 3.6, 4, 3.6, 4.4, 4.4% more life regen, and this is really awesome. Life regen is very underestimated, I think. Life regen is one of the best defensive stats you can have. So this is a lot of life regen, also more life. So that's kind of cool. That's the way I would go. You can also go for this tree. Now you see that we still have no crit. We also went for elemental overload. By the way, you will have to make a setup with Orb of Storms so that you can proc elemental overload, because it crits really often, and that way you always have it up, and it's 40% more elemental damage. It is not that bad. You won't drop in damage too much when you go this instead of crit. Okay, and then I went for acrobatics and phase acrobatics. That's the second way you could go. Also, here is some more life and more evasion. What you do is you go for evasion only when you go this way. So you don't go for energy shield anymore. Energy shield is not that good anymore because 50% less armor and energy shield when you take these nodes. But you can go evasion. Evasion is pretty awesome. And so you try to get evasion bases on every piece of gear. And you go for these two. And it should quite higher your chances to survive with these awesome defenses. So just choose yourself. I put in both trees. You can go this way or you can go this way. I personally would go for this one because of the life regeneration. Yeah, and that's it for hardcore and solo self-found. Yo, let's talk about the skill tree right now. So this is the softcore skill tree. If you want to know about the HC skill tree, it was in the last section. You can just skip back to HC. This is the softcore skill tree, and if you want to know in which order you have to apply your points, just watch my leveling video. There's an extra leveling video. I've also linked it in the description, so you know how to progress in the tree. But this one is just about the most important key nodes in the tree, so let's start. First of all, clever construction is the most important point. Without it, you wouldn't play any mine builds, because your mines get destroyed by nearly everything. So yeah, your mines are invulnerable for 5 seconds. Yeah, must have. I always rush this one first. Then also high explosives. Now, this is a little fire penetration skill gem, if you want to call it like that. There's also a stat called mine detonation area of effect. That sounds pretty OP, right? But it's actually not what you think it is. I was confused myself, so I had to look it up when I was playing this build the first time. So, mine detonation area of effect does absolutely nothing for us. I try to explain it as good as I can, since I'm no original Inglando. So, mine detonation area of effect is for targeting spells or targeting mines. Let's say you put Ice Bear and mine together, mine support together, and your Ice Bear projectiles need to target the enemies. And that's the range in which enemies get targeted. I hope I explained it so that you can understand it. So this just hires the targeting range at which projectiles target. We don't have projectiles. It does absolutely nothing for us. That's the reason we don't skill these points. It is not area of effect, like you might think. Okay, then we have this one written. No, not this one. We have volatile mines. Detonating mines is instant. Quite an important note. You will notice the difference. It feels way smoother when you have this. Also, don't forget to get this one more mine. And we have this one. Self-explanatory. Nothing to say about that. We also have Blast Cascade. Now, this is one I want to talk about shortly. Blast Cascade is super important. If you go crit, you can see 15% chance to gain a power charge when your mine is detonated targeting an enemy. I was a bit confused with the targeting an enemy thing, but also Fire Nova mines target the enemies. So it works. It works totally fine. You will get power charges all the time just by using your mines. That's pretty cool. That's our power charge generator. Yeah, and I think that's about it. Of course, you want to go for the area of effect nodes. They are quite important. And a lot of life. And that's it. Hey! I hope you're not too bored yet, because now we are talking about the Ascendancy class. We are playing Shadow and we go for the Saboteur Ascendancy class. Saboteur is not the most popular Ascendancy class out there. For example, Rice QT, if you don't know him, he's one of the most successful PoE players and streamers. I really admire him, but he said that Saboteur is a noob trap and you should never play it. I don't know if I take it out of context and he just meant for traps, but I would highly disagree if he meant it for mines. He also said that Saboteur doesn't provide any damage. Now let's check this out. Okay, we are at 11.4 average hit damage, and with Saboteur nodes we are at 13.4k. That is 2k more average hit damage. That is an increase of roughly 15 to 18%. I didn't do the math. So we have 15 to 18% more damage through our Saboteur, which is not insane, but it's at least some damage, so it's not totally useless damage-wise. What we really want from the Saboteur class is the utility. The utility we get from it is insane. And I want to be honest, I wouldn't even touch a single mine build out there without the utility we get from Saboteur. I've tried it, I've played with as Assassin, it feels clunky as fuck, and the map clear speed was half as fast, pretty much. Why is that so? What is all the utility I'm talking about? Let's talk about the single points we spent our Ascendancy points into. Bomb Specialist. You gain 8% increased area of effect for each mine. That is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. You can have up to 88% increased area of effect with 11 mines. Now, you would only do that for bosses, and that's mostly the case. Mostly in that case, the area of effect doesn't matter because you just want to hit the boss. So, yeah, realistically spoken, you will have out 7 mines on average before you let them explode while clearing maps, while clearing trash mobs. So you lay down 2 clusters of mines, then you let them explode. That is 56% increased area of effect. 56% increased area of effect you have all the time. So that is as much as the Witch area nodes and the Templar area nodes combined. Or you could also say that is as much as an 8th link, our 8th link with an AoE gem, increased area of effect gem, that is level 27. Just for free. Just like that. Holy moly. That is insane. And in my opinion, this isn't even the most important point. I think this is the most important one. 100% increased mine arming speed. I can't exactly explain what mine arming speed is, but as soon as you skill this, you will notice a huge difference. The build feels super fluid and super smooth. It's one of those feel things. I can't really explain what it does, but you will just notice the difference. It's insane. It's so much better. I wouldn't want to play a mine build without this node anymore. So yeah. Then we also have this one. Now the rest of the points are not that important. This is just like high explosives. This is a little fire penetration gem. It's not bad at all. It's a little bonus. And yeah, these 2 points, to be honest, when I play HC, I don't even run Uberlap for these 2 points because it's just not needed. You can do it for the loss, for the completion, of course you can do it, but you don't need to. It's just not important enough. Okay. So there's one case I would switch my Ascendancy class to Assassin. And yeah, that is if you want to do the hardest bosses of the game, which would be Shaper and Ubatsiri. And let's also include the Guardians you need for Shaper. So if you want to do those who have millions of HP, you would switch to the Assassin tree. You would go for Unstable Infusion, for Deadly Infusion, then for Ambush, and for Assassinate. But in order to be able to do those bosses, you first of all need to solve the problem of the mana cost. You need to completely out-regen the mana cost. If you somehow manage to do that, and I didn't manage to do that yet, but if you somehow manage to completely out-regen the mana cost so that you don't have to use up your life flasks and yeah, eventually go out of the map or leave the map and use portals, yeah, then you can start doing those bosses. So this is just under the assumption that you manage to out-regen the mana costs. And then you can go for this. You would have so much crit afterwards that you have too much crit chance. It would be more than 100%. It can't be more than 100%. But it would be too high at the moment while using a diamond flask. So what you would do is you drop the critical strike chance gem in our 6-link setup and you replace it by controlled destruction. And that would be the ultimate damage setup. But I want to tell you, for tier 1 to tier 15 farming, the damage we have while using Saboteur class is high enough to melt everything down. You won't need it, you just want the utility and the clear speed that comes from area of effect. And you should always go for this one. This is really only if you want to do the hardest bosses in the game. Okay, now we are talking about the Bandit rewards. So, there are new Bandit rewards with 3.0, and I've collected them here, as you can see. So, Alira gives us 5 mana regen, 20% global critical strike multiplier, 15% all elemental resistances. That is not too bad. I think that's the one I would go for if there wasn't this fourth choice. Attack speed, chance to dodge, movement speed, meh. And this one is the worst, pretty much. Also, I would like that 1% life regen from Oak, but 2% additional physical damage is like, lol, what the fuck? And 20% physical damage does nothing for us. So, yeah. We also have the choice of going 2 passive points instead of helping any bandit. So you don't help any bandit and you get the 2 passive points from Aramir, or how, I forgot how he's called, in the town, okay? So, look at this. Ba-bow! That's your choice. That's what you go for. Alright? Alright. What the fuck is wrong with you? You are still here. Okay, nice. Let's talk about the different skill gem setups. So, if you press the second tab, you can see exactly what I'm seeing right now. Our different skill gem setups. Our main setup, you can switch them here. Our main setup is Fire Nova Mine. Fire Nova Mine connected to Minefield support, Elemental Focus, and Fire Penetration. This is our powerhouse. This is our foundation. These are the 4 gems I would pick while leveling. Note that you don't need any quality on Minefield support. It doesn't provide us anything. Okay, then we have increased critical strikes or controlled destruction as our 5th link. You have to choose between one of those. I can't make that decision for you. I'm not 100% sure which one of those 2 gems is better. I personally would always go for crit chance before controlled destruction, because you see our crit chance here. Effective crit chance means the crit chance that you have while using a diamond flask. It is 76% right now with mediocre items. All these calculations right now are with very mediocre items. We will get to the items later, but let me show you just one item here. Glows with 65 life, 35 lightning res, and yeah, socket. It's just really mediocre items which you see here. And you see we have at least 76% crit chance, which is pretty good. If you don't pick increased critical strike and go for controlled destruction, you will be at 46% while using a diamond flask. That is not really good. I personally would probably... Also, it gives you a lot of damage, controlled destruction. I would probably stick to increased critical strikes. Our 6th link will always be trap and mine damage. There's no question. So yeah, you have to choose between those 2. Movement setup. Our movement setup is shield charge, leap slam, fast attacks, 45. Not much to explain there. Leave shield charge and leap slam on level 1 to have lower mana cost, because you don't need the damage from it. And ignore the blood magic for now. I will explain why I put it in there. Cast when damage taken, vortex, immortal call, increased duration. So yeah, not much to explain. If you are new to this game, notice that you don't overlevel vortex and immortal call. That is really important. Otherwise they won't proc anymore from cast when damage taken. The level requirement always needs to be lower or as high as cast when damage taken for these 2 gems. If you just stick to the levels I posted here, 3 for cast when damage taken, 6 for vortex, 5 for immortal call, you will be good to go. Everything will go as planned. You can level increased duration to max level, it doesn't matter. Okay, then Val Clarity, Decoy Totem, increased duration, faster cast. Then we have our curses. Now we have 4 curses that are very beneficial for our build. That is Temporal Chains, Enfeeble, Elemental Weakness, and Flammability. These are the 4 curses that come into mind for our build. I personally would always go for Temporal Chains and Enfeeble. Our damage is enough, but we are very squishy. And we need that layer of defense. So I would recommend you to go for these 2. If you want to mix it up, that's also a possibility. You could go 1 offensive, 1 defensive. You should choose Elemental Weakness over Flammability. Flammability gives less minus rest to the monsters. And Flammability is only better for builds that rely on igniting, because it gives a lot of chance to ignite. But we don't rely on igniting, so always pick Elemental Weakness over Flammability if you have to choose. But as I said, just stick to this setup and ignore this one. That's just my recommendation. Okay, then our last setup is Stone Golem, faster casting, Portal. These 3. Okay, there's one more thing. We have a little bit mana left. That mana is enough to cast Stone Golem, Decoy Totem, and move around. If you could reserve it by using Arctic Armor, then you have to make some changes. For me personally, Arctic Armor is not important enough to do that, but maybe you really want to have Arctic Armor, and I want to tell you what you have to do to make it work. So you have to get rid of Portal, you have to get rid of faster casting, then you connect Summon Stone Golem to Blood Magic. You have to realize that you can't use anything that runs on mana anymore, because you have 100% reservation right now. So everything needs to run on Blood Magic. Summon Stone Golem connected to Blood Magic, and then Arctic Armor needs to be in a single slot, unconnected to these other 2. If Arctic Armor is connected to Blood Magic, it will run on life, and that sucks. You don't want any life reservated, I guess. So yeah, Arctic armor in a single slot that is not connected to the other two. Okay, that's what you do then. Then, double curse doesn't matter. Like, your decoy totem needs also to be connected to blood magic. Wild clarity doesn't matter since it runs on souls, but decoy totem needs to be run on blood magic. So you get rid of faster casting and use blood magic instead. Cast with damage taken doesn't matter. Our movement setup, and that's the one that really sucks, and that's the main reason I wouldn't pick Arctic armor. You have to get rid of one of these. You don't want to get rid of Fortify or Fast Attacks, since Fortify is a really good mechanism. And Faster Attacks, yeah, makes you double as fast, pretty much. So yeah, you have to get rid of Leap Slam, and then you pick Blood Magic instead. And Leap Slam is really good as well to get over obstacles really fast. I wouldn't sacrifice it. But that would be the difference, right? So just that you know, you can run Arctic armor, but I wouldn't suggest you to do it. Yeah, that's it for the setups for the different ones. Okay, guys. I'm really proud of you that you're still with me. You're real warriors of the light. See you in the next section. Hey, items, yay! So this will probably be the longest section. If you intend to skip this section, that's perfectly fine. You can discover it for yourself in the path of building link I gave you. You just have to click on items and you can see the different items. One thing you have to know before you skip is that I put in 2 items that I would never pick for a build. It's just to show off how shitty they are. These 2 items are the Consuming Dark and the Doyanis Catalyzed. I would never use those items, just so that you know. I have crafted 2 types of items, of yellow items. You can craft them yourself. Realistic ones and perfect ones. I won't go through the perfect ones yet, since it would become too long. Just to show you one perfect item. This would be a perfect scepter, for example. Spell damage, elemental damage to spells, attack speed, crit multiplier. Now this would be the perfect scepter, but of course this is something you would never really achieve. But I put in the perfect items just so that you know what to aim for, on which stats are important for us on each item. So let's stick to the realistic scepter. You see, a realistic scepter, we are at 5.8k average hit damage. If we switch to Consuming Dark, we drop to 4.7. Insane. It's really bad. If we switch to Doyanis, we go to 5.780. That's pretty much the same amount of damage, but the difference is that realistic scepter wouldn't cost you more than 10 chaos, and a Doyanis Catalyzed, especially in the beginning of a league, is really expensive, so it's not worth it at all. There's one unique choice I would really recommend you. This one. So you drop to 5.4 from 5.8. It's the Singularity Platinum Scepter. So Singularity Platinum Scepter, it looks badass because you get an awesome ground effect below your character when you use this item. But it also has reduced cost of mana. That's also really cool. But the main thing is that enemies are hindered. Hinder combines perfectly with your temporal chains. So enemies are even slower when you use this item. And hindered enemies take 70% increased damage. So that is not taken into the calculation right now. And that would have to be added. I don't know exactly how much it is, but it is a lot more damage. So yeah, Singularity would be an amazing choice, especially for the beginning. And it is really cheap. It usually doesn't cost more than 5 chaos. So that's one choice I could really recommend you. Let's head to the shield. We have the choice between a Lionized Remorse, which gives you a lot of armor and life, or just a really good shield with a lot of life and a lot of crit chance. I would always prefer a shield with crit chance than a Lionized Remorse, for example. So the two most important stats on a shield are crit chance and life, and then try to get in some resistances if possible. Of course, it's not bad if you also have spell damage on your shield, but then it becomes really expensive. Helmets. There are two really decent unique helmets. One is Walls Vision. It's not my favorite. I probably wouldn't pick it anymore. I tried it out. You get 100 life regen per second if no items are corrupted. That's the best stat on this helmet. And 10% max life, okay. But yeah, it's nice. It's not bad at all. The most important thing about helmets, of course, is the Fire Nova Mine repeats an additional 2 times enchantment. As long as you get this enchantment on any helmet, that's the most important stat. That's the one you really want. It kind of doubles your damage. I said it often. It really doubles your damage. So you want that helmet enchantment. But if you can choose between different helmets, go for a Rimner's Resolve. I think that's my favorite one. It gives you some fire damage and a really convenient utility stat. Cannot be frozen or chilled if you've used a fire skill recently. Recently means 4 seconds. So that means you're pretty much immune to freeze and chill. And that is pretty OP. That is really nice. So yeah, I would probably go for Rimner's Resolve. And for yellow helmets, you just would pick one with a lot of resistances and max life. Okay. Then body armor. That's the only slot where we don't really have a choice. The Covenant is the best in slot. You need the blood magic for our expensive spell. Gloves. You can take Maligaro's Virtuosity, but they don't have any defensive stats. So I wouldn't. I would recommend you to get some yellow gloves. You could craft them yourself, and there is an essence that gives socketed gems have 60% more attack and cast speed. That's where you put your movement skills in, and it's not increased attack and cast speed, it's more attack and cast speed. So that means you are fast as fuck. You're really fast when you manage to get a setup into one of those gloves. So yeah, these would be really cool. Then for our boots, I would suggest you to get Mutewood Whisper Steps. Now they don't have many defensive stats as well, but you are unaffected by Chill Ground. That's pretty cool. You also get a lot of elemental damage to spells. That's pretty close to as much as you have on your weapon. 28 to 45 cold damage to spells. And you also get 60% critical strike chance. Now that's really good. I really like those boots. But they might be hard to get since they are Warbands exclusive, I think. So yeah, but if you can get your hands on one of those, they would be best in slot, I think. Otherwise, you can also use Death's Door. I just love them for the fact that you are immune to bleeding. Bleeding can kill you quite fast. And yeah, you will be immune to bleeding with those. So they would be pretty cool. But they are expensive. So yeah, I don't know if it's worth it. Or you can just go for good boots yourself. For good boots that are yellow with a lot of movement speed, res, and life. Then, for our amulet, we use Bisco's Collar. I really try to work one of those Bisco's Collars into my builds because I think this item is OP as fuck. I mean, we want to collect good items, that's our goal. And this item gives you 100% increased quantity of items dropped by slain normal enemies. Most of the times you kill normal enemies. That means pretty much you double your income from drops. That is insane. You get double as much currency and stuff. 150% increased rarity by blue mobs. That's also really good. So yeah, I would always use a Bisco's Collar if I can. The perfect one would be one with an additional curse as implicit. You have to wild them, therefore. But that can become really expensive. But if you manage to get one of those, then that would be the dream. You can free up one 1 ring slot, don't need to use Dirtress Damning anymore, and therefore have a lot more defense. So that would be really nice. Another choice would be Xoth's Blood. Xoth's Blood is a really strong item for our build. So let's switch to Xoth's Blood. So our damage goes up by a bit, not much, but it doesn't count in the cover enemies in ash when they hit you. We can do that. We can see what would be the difference due to that new stat we get. There is here, is the enemy covered in ash? And we say yes. Covered in ash means 20% less movement speed, which is also really nice by the enemies, and 20% increased damage, fire damage taken. Now look at the damage here. 5-7 right now, and if they are covered in ash, 6-8. That's a really huge increase. So Xoth's Blood is a really good item. And still I would try to get my hands on a Biscos. I like the Biscos much more, just for the more drops. Ring slots are not very exciting. You try to get a good ring. You can craft one yourself with increased fire damage. I think it's Essence of Anger, but I'm not 100% sure. So just a good ring with fire damage if possible, and life and resistances. Then the Dirtress Damning. Then for our belt slot, yeah, you want to get a belt with a lot of life and resistances. The perfect belt would look like this. It wouldn't have a lot of resistances, but it would have a lot of life, 1 good resistance, and then all the flask nodes, all the flask mods. They are really good. They boost your flask immensely. 20% increased flask charges gain, 20% increased flask effect duration, and flask life recovery rate. So these are the really good stats. That would be a perfect belt. But realistically spoken, you will have one of those stats, one of those flask stats, and some res and life. I won't go over the flasks, just notice that it's important to have a diamond flask. Also, you want to have a granite flask of iron skin or a basalt flask. I don't see the big difference between those two. I just pick a random one of those two. I think they pretty much give you the same amount of physical damage reduction. For our jewels, I have crafted 4 different jewels and tried to use as many different stats as possible. They all have in common that they have max life, increased max life on them. I would always try to get max life on my jewels and then some 1 or 2, or in the best case 3 offensive stats. But these are very expensive. They realistic one would look like this. Maybe max life and 2 offensive stats, and even they would be quite expensive. So I think in the forum I will put in all the mods that are important for our jewels. So just look into the forum guide, there you can see all the important mods for our jewels. And that's about it for the item section. Hey y'all, welcome back. We are pretty close to the end of this guide. We are talking about the mechanics. And therefore we are in-game seeing my beautiful beta character. So there are 2 mechanics that are really important for this build. First one is pressing shift while laying down mines. Pressing shift makes so that you attack in place, and that is super important for Fire Nova mines. So let's pretend I have my left hand away from the keyboard in my pants, right? So I'm doing that right now. I am trying to lay down mines, and what happens is I have to run to the destination of my cursor, and then he starts laying down those mines. And that is really shitty. So, or if I try to change my destination, it won't lay down the mines at all. So that is really shitty. What you want to do is, and I take out my hand off my pants, you want to press shift. You want to press shift, and then it lays down the mines wherever your cursor is immediately. See, my cursor is up there. He still lays down the mines, and that is really important. You should get used to it. You could even keep your little finger at... No, I had to think about Game of Thrones. I'm retarded. Never mind. You could even leave your little finger on your shift key all the time. That wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, I just got used to pressing the shift button whenever I want to lay down a mine. And that way, yeah, the build is way more efficient. I think you couldn't even play it without the shift key. I wouldn't do so. So get used to that. That is really important. Okay, then there's a second mechanic that is really important. Let's pretend this is a boss. So what I used to do, and this is also in my old guides, I used to do this. It looks really impressive, right? But it's actually retarded. Why? Because you overwrite all your old mines that way. And the later waves always deal the most damage. So you will always overwrite your last charges. And that way you deal less damage in the end. So the way to do it is like this. Lay down the maximum amount of charges. Press your detonation button. Wait until the last one is gone and do a new. Do that from the beginning. Just like this. This is the way you would do bosses. Okay, so let's see how this works out versus real bosses. Just to remind you, bosses have like 5 times as much HP as they had in 2.6. So they got buffed immensely. It's crazy how long they survive now. So this is a white map, a tier 3 arid lake map. And you see we just need 1 times 11 maps and the bosses should go down. This is a yellow tier 8 map, a tropical island map, and we need 2 times 11 mines, which is still pretty fast. Now we go to a tier 14 shape reef map boss. So this is pretty much end game. And what you have to do is lay down decoy totem, activate your wild clarity, then jump into the boss. And don't forget to use your diamond flask, this is quite important. And you see we need 3 times 11 mines and the boss is already down. This is pretty fast for the huge amount of HP. So, we are at the end of our guide. I hope I could help you out. I hope you have a great time in 3.0. That's what I want to achieve, to give you guys a great time in the new league. I am excited as fuck. I hope you are as well. Maybe this guide even hyped you up for the new expansion, since you maybe didn't discover this build yet and you try it out for the first time. That would be really cool. Leave your feedback after you've played this build. Tell me how you like it. I have made the first guide in December, I think, and many people told me that they really enjoyed this build. So I'm pretty sure you will as well. What is left to do is to make a little bit self-promotion. By the way, if you have made it to this point of the video and you watched the whole video, you are a beast and I'm so thankful for your attention. Since I'm an attention whore. Yeah, so I'm a really small channel and if you want to support me, what helps me the most would really be give me $1,000 now. Subscribe to my channel. That would help me so much. Just click the button in the bottom right and you are part of my community. That would be really awesome. It helps me grow and not only in my pants, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm mainly a Let's Player. I play all the good story games, like all the Telltale games with decisions and stuff. Life is Strange, To the Moon. Mostly many emotional games now that I think about it. And yeah, sometimes I tear up. Kappa Bright, lul. Not really, but yeah, sometimes I tear up, so that happens. Many emotions. Oh, also Last of Us Remastered. So maybe you want to farm up in PoE and you think about what to watch. Maybe you put me on your second monitor and chill with me in some Let's Plays. That would be really cool. If not, it's also totally fine. I hope I could help you out. If you have any suggestions, I'm not a god in PoE, how to make this build better, please let me know in the comments or in the forum guide. And yeah, leave some feedback. Subscribe, share and like. Bye bye.